It was people that been there like 30 years, 32 years, 34 years that retired that was still at the same position that they came in at.
When I was talking to Rex Richardson and his staff was just trying not to just make it a black issue and just make it a work issue.
Because it's not about the background, it's not about the experience, it's about this thing called fit. And fit is not something that you can measure.
It's because we needed a voice. Black workers needed a voice.
My first time actually facing the fact that, like, because I'm Black, I'm having these experiences and no one knows what to do and no one cares enough to do it.
I am a board certified behavior analyst. I've been a behavior analyst for 18 years. I am the founder and CEO of Behavior Genius, in an autism treatment center here in the Inland Empire. So we have 2 locations. One is in Ontario, and our second location is in the High Desert in Asbury. Innately, I just really took to it. I got certified in organizational behavior management, and then I was promoted to Director of Clinical Operations, where I was overseeing clinical directors all over the United States, 16 of them, all over the United States in different states. And now I'm thinking, okay, healthcare, insurance, growth strategy across different states and different demographics in those states. And that was equally riveting for me. I did that for about a year and a half. And then I went on maternity leave and had my son. And when I came back, there had been a change. The CEO had sold the company, the culture of the company had completely shifted. And there's a new CEO who was, what would I say? What would I call this person? Just didn't seem like she liked me, honestly. She didn't seem like she liked me. She didn't seem like the type that liked women. To be honest, she didn't seem like and she pioneered, like, this woman had so much experience and I really believe had pioneered in the area of business for women. But she just didn't seem like she liked me. And so I had given a few complaints. She would give me tasks to do that were not within my job description or that were really far from my home that other people could do, but she wanted me to do it. Little things like that. She'd make comments about my hair or how professional I looked. Things like that. And so I felt uncomfortable for a long time. I felt targeted. I expressed that. But where it really changed was I complained about a $60,000 pay disparity between myself and a white man who was in a lateral position to me. And there was no difference between us except that he was white and a man. I complained about this to HR, and they said they'd look into it. And I was locked out of my email by the time I got back to my car. Yes, girl. They didn't even formally fire me, okay?
My name is Anthony Holmes. What I do for work, I'm a refuse operator, which driving trash trucks throughout the city of Long Beach, recycling trash throughout the city of Long Beach. The first time I noticed that things weren't right is when I think it was like my second year working for the city, and the other workers was telling me, like, Anthony, watch out, this has been going on. And I would tell them, like, well, that's not gonna happen to me. Like, I'm not about to get passed up like you guys and this and that. And 10 years come, like, oh, it happened to me. So that's when I had to speak out.
My name's Dawn Mopkins. My pronouns are she and her. So I'm the director of the Southern California Black Worker Hub.
I've been organizing for a long time in labor, organizing unions, externally, new unions for workers who don't have a union or voice at work, as a union rep with various industries, some political organizing, which is not my favorite lane, community, most importantly, organizing for Black liberation, extremely centered and focused on organizing in those ways for the past 10 to 15 years. And today, excited to be the director of the SoCal Black Worker Hub, working in coordination with Black worker centers across the region. I think when I hear folks describe this push out, I think oftentimes and historically, some of the lower wage industries where we've been, I think over time and generationally, there are different classes that fall into those industries, right? And now, for California anyway, where we are only, I think about somewhere around 9-10% of the population, and our Latino folks are becoming more of the majority of population, we're often losing access to spaces that we've historically been.
Three things. First, we look at what happened historically. We look at the impact, we look at the rationale. Then we look at how does it still exist today and in what form? And then thirdly, can there be any solutions and or common remedies that can be applied or public policies that can be applied? A lot of it is around employment discrimination. Because that still is very real, particularly among Black workers. That's why there is a Black Worker Center. And one of the things that I'm pleased about, that I'm proud that I was associated with, while there have been unions, many times our voices within those unions was not always heard. That's why there had to be a Black Worker Center.
My name is Bobby Sampson. Be honest with you, truthfully, Black men, we have it rough. You know, I talk to a lot of dudes. I talk to different nationalities, police, people, and even Black women. I even tell my girlfriend the same thing. We need affirmation. We need, sometimes we need, like when I come in from work, I need my girlfriend, to tell me, hey, how was your day? Bring me up, because we go through a lot. It's about being Black men. First of all, we deal with our own people. We still have that challenge. So once I get through that challenge, then I got to deal with the LAPD. With that challenge, then I got to deal with the other Latinos and that challenge, and then all the other races going to the Korean stores and stuff like that. So it's hard being Black, especially a Black man. We go through a lot.
I'm just speaking of the Black culture, African Americans, about what's going on in city jobs and non-city jobs. This is happening all over the nation when it comes to Black employees to get promoted. We continue to get discriminated against, get passed up, retaliated against, bullied, disrespected. It's just, the list goes on. Like it won't stop. And then you have some of your own African Americans that's doing the same thing white supremacists do. You guys got in a position to make a change when y'all not making it no better.
Kyle Seals and he and him. So I started to say stuff to the supervisors, started to ask these questions. And then that's what led me to Anthony Holmes. And eventually he started telling me about what he was going down there to do with the city hall and speaking on the issues in the department. And because I wanted to help, I started going to City Hall with him. And when I went to City Hall with him, when they saw the video and they saw that I was there, I was still on probation. So making these points and saying these things that I had heard, that's when they kind of blacklisted us out of the department. Like, you're still new, you shouldn't be speaking on those issues. But that wasn't my concern. My concern was more so, well, none of you guys are saying I'm wrong. So that's what led me to keep going, to try to bring awareness to the department. And sure enough, it blacklisted me out of the department.
In the Inland Empire, the EEOC took a case, and they rarely take cases. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, they will only take a case if there is extreme, hard, visual, clear, tangible evidence around the discrimination, right? And there were warehouses where Black workers were being directly discriminated against, using all the N-words, the drawing pictures of monkeys everywhere, the actual recordings of people saying things, derogatory things, in threatening manners, harassing manners. And so they took that case. They had to sue these businesses, and they won, and it's been one of the largest class action lawsuits for discrimination. I think I forget the exact amount at the moment, but they just won that case about 2 years ago. Here in Long Beach, there are a number of class action lawsuits against the city. I think you met one of the workers or two who, of many who have been dealing with discrimination, here in the city of Long Beach.
My name is DJ, and my pronouns is he and him. There was a time where I was working a second job, and I ended up choosing warehouse jobs. And a lot of warehouse jobs in San Diego, especially in the Inland Empire, is the Dominican, Mexicans, whites, and they will always pick you out of the whole group. Like, no matter what you do or if you mess up, like, they always gonna come for your head before they come for the other color people. I can't say color, Mexican, white, anybody but Black, because I was in a work environment with a bunch of Mexicans in the warehouse, and basically the Mexican called me a monkey, and I pressed the issue on that, and the manager really didn't do nothing about it. And when I start saying, can I speak to HR, they're like, there's no HR. So I was confused at the moment, and no one got punished. But we got into it again, and I got in trouble because the Mexicans I got into it with was saying I pressed the issue. Like, I'm the one that started the whole thing because I was still upset of the first incident.
My name is Phyllis K. Morris Green, and my pronoun is she, her. Okay, I got set up, and there was a conversation that was taken out of context. And I can't really go into detail, but there was a conversation that was taken out of context. When it got back to me because the new public defender called me up in reference to the conversation and didn't even ask me what that conversation was about. She had already informed her and her opinion and gave me certain directives, which basically made me angry, and I went home that day. Okay. I really didn't know about the reports until I had a suspicion, but I didn't know about the reports until some years later when I became the public defender. And understand that I became the public defender behind that management staff. So while I was sitting in my office one day, an employee in administration approached me and said, oh, by the way, you need to see this. And it was my personnel file. And it wasn't just me, that it turned out that there were other individuals in the department. So we had to deal with HR in terms of cleaning up the personnel file, because the MOU stated that if there's going to be any write-ups, that you have the right to see the write-up, you have the opportunity to respond, etc., etc. None of that happened. When I read the write-up, then I began to understand why the public defender came off on me the way that she did on an incident that didn't happen the way it was stated. And I was floored. I was being used by two men who wanted to further their ambitions in the department. They knew that management wanted me out, and so they were going to be successful in the task and move up in the department. That was my assumption, but that's what happened.
First talk about fundamentals, because the conditions are still the same. That is, you got liberation, the rock, and you got opposition, white supremacy, institutional racism, individual bigotry, and man's denial.
My name is Monet Warren, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. Yes, Black worker power is important for workers in Southern California because of stories like mine, because of stories like other Black workers, where the employers just are not creating safe working spaces for their employees. And we see it all the time. We see it with Starbucks and Tesla, right? We see it, and then we also have the lived experiences. So it's like from major corporations all the way down, to universities, to grocery stores, coffee shops. We need that worker power.
So my name is Janice Parker Presley. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, and my pronouns are she and her. So I got into HR probably by necessity. I saw a lot of things that happened in terms of recruits or whatever, people that wanted to get picked up in corporate America and didn't necessarily know how to do that. So my first job, I kind of switched out of engineering and moved into more of an HR role, and then worked with minority college students and high school seniors and helped them go in corporate. I was responsible for doing some training for a group of recruiters at one of the organizations that I work for, and one of the questions that we asked in like a Zoom poll was, what do you consider for an applicant when they apply? Is it what is the thing that you consider the most? Is it their application? Is it their resume? Is it their work experience? Or is it fit? And 99% of the people in that room that were recruiters said it was fit. Well, fit is not something that you can measure. So that's how you understand how people who are truly not qualified for roles get in roles, because it's not about the background, it's not about the experience, it's about this thing called fit. And fit is something that you cannot measure.
My name is Sherry Marshall, and my pronouns are she. I haven't really seen anyone express anything. Usually people, which I don't think should happen, which just speak up more, they usually just let it go or like move on to the next thing. I tried to take action on my own situation. It didn't work out, but at least I could try. But that's one thing I do see people do. They don't really go forward with taking action after they've been mistreated. So
we're currently working on a statewide policy called Senate Bill 1340 that has been led by one of our founders, Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas, which primarily does three things. One, it ensures local enforcement when folks are experiencing discrimination, and this is of all the protected classes, right? But we know that for us, primarily that is anti-Blackness. And so it allows for local enforcement. So currently, when someone experiences discrimination, we can really only fight that at the state level through the through EEOC or through the Human Rights Department. And so it allows for local enforcement. Second, it pushes for equitable hire, which means in the case where our state just received about $180 billion worth of infrastructure funding to allow for new contracts to, help our city go green, to improve our infrastructure. We want to make sure that all of those large contracts, that they're hiring equitably, that they're hiring impacted workers, formerly incarcerated workers, women workers, and Black workers, right? And so, and that they're tracking those processes.
My name is Jessica Javon Taylor. I go by she and her. So currently I work for the federal government, Department of Homeland Security. So there's a sector called the United States Citizenship Immigration Services. I basically issued green cards and naturalization to people, immigrants, and I applied the immigration laws to make sure they're eligible for their green card or to become a citizen. My working while Black experience has been a struggle with each new job I've been to. Even though I've felt safe at my jobs, I've always felt I've been experiencing some discrimination. For instance, there's one particular law firm, they wanted to do headshots, and she was the main law person was willing to pay for my hair and makeup. And I communicated to her, like, I appreciate the cost and I'm willing to do the makeup part, but in terms of the hair, I want to do my own hair. I don't like other people touching my hair, especially when it comes to heat damage. And she communicated to me that she wanted my hair straight for the photos. And I said, I apologize, but I'm not gonna do that. And she kind of caught an attitude with me. So even though she still paid for my makeup session and she was willing to do the photos for me, the headshots, I could still felt there was a little tension between me and her after that situation, only because I stood up for myself. And I feel like any job I am in as a Black woman, it's difficult to stand up for yourself.
How do we connect our work? So we connect our work to building Black power. First of all, realizing where our workers are and realizing where the gaps are. There's a lot of grandiose ideas of ways we can achieve power, but knowing the landscape and knowing what levels of knowledge our workers are coming in with is super important. It's crucial because we can't equip Black workers to build worker power if they don't really understand what their rights are, if they don't understand what they have available to them as workers, or what responsibilities they have as workers to show up. So providing the education for workers has been really crucial for us. And then also creating spaces where we can have these open conversations, and then bringing folks in, like from EEOC, having the conversations, allowing them to like share what it is they're experiencing, and then hearing from whoever's mouth, whoever the powers that be are, like, here's where, you know, your like, oh my God, what is the word I'm looking for? Here's where like the resources can support you, and here's where they don't.
Ruth Mayfield, her or she.
You got people that have been out in the street and have lived other lives. And so then they come in, you know, like I said, God has given me a chance to live 2 lives in one lifetime. So I know the difference, you know. But us coming home, or people coming home and stuff like this, from prison, or even been out in life, haven't even been to prison, have been in the streets, and when they get their head together, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. We don't have a clue. We have rights for this, we have a right for that. We don't have a clue to this. I've been on a job where you get your paycheck stub and ain't no sick time on it. That's against the law. Am I right or wrong? The job I worked for, my second job was security. I had supervisors been working 2 or 3 years for this company, or longer than that. And they didn't know they had sick time. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know when we started. This got started like 2 years ago, the security job. They didn't talk about that in the orientation.
First, Black worker voice. Because without the voice, you can't get to the power. And part of what has happened, and part of the reason why there is a Black Worker Center, is, and the whole Black workers infrastructure, is because we needed a voice. Black workers needed a voice. That's the first thing. The second thing, once you got a voice and people started expressing their positions, their discrimination, and their displacement, then you can talk about that condition and what it means in our communities to Black women and Black men. And then finally, how do you create public policy that addresses it in ways that are both fundamentally sound to the people who have been who have been impacted by it and who are surviving it? So that's the sort of second thing. Who are included. Too often we create public policy without including the people who are impacted by it.
My name is Sherry Bell, and my pronouns are she, her, her. Metro's project labor agreement, it was a historic labor agreement between labor unions and primarily in construction industry and the County of Los Angeles to perform work, infrastructure work on building railroads and trains and that things of that nature. So because it was publicly funded dollars, we have more leverage to advocate for equity, especially around affirmative action language that we were advocated to get written into the agreement. So basically, when that project, the Crenshaw LAX line, first broke ground, well, first of all, we've been tracking the project from the beginning, right? And so we was monitoring it really closely. And when the first project, because there's multiple projects along the line, the first project report came out, showed 0% Black worker participation. And so we advocated and championed that this is not acceptable, especially in a community where you are mandated to hire locally, and you couldn't find not one Black worker in an area that's like 67% Black. So we championed and we fought and we had a sustained effort, and we ended up getting 18 to 20% on that line. But so the workers came together at many of the hearings downtown at Metro headquarters and City Council and told their story, right? So those workers were able to turn a negative experience into a positive one by being organized and sharing their voice to be able to fight for change that happened. But you know, those kind of efforts, those sustained efforts, it was not easy. It took constant efforts, and those types of efforts and movements to combat systemic discrimination needs investment. And that's why, you know, the Black Worker Centers need support to be able to carry out this work throughout the various counties in California, being that there's going to be trillions of dollars being invested federally, and it's going to be creating many jobs. We want to make sure that no disadvantaged worker is left behind.
I'm Jackie Ray. I go by she, her. The Long Beach Watchdog is all the reporters that used to be with the Long Beach Post have made a collective, and it is a worker-owned organization. So we have band together, and we understand that journalism is important, because that's how you can change your life, is when there's strong journalism present and telling you what's going on with the police department, with the refuge department, with city council. That empowers you, and that's what empowers us. So we've come together and we've built our own brand, and that is not ever going to fade for me again. Like, it's very difficult for me. We always talk about, do we want another job? I'm like, I do not. And my job needs to be me and what I love, and figuring out a way to better the community and get the news out that people need. That's my job.
It's systems change work. How are we addressing these experiences on the ground when folks are experiencing anti-Blackness right at work? How are we changing systems where we, can hold these actors accountable who continue to commit these harmful acts? And how are we keeping ourselves well in the process? So one of our partners with the SoCal Black Worker Hub is Earth Lodge. They also happen to be based here in Long Beach. They do all kind of healing work around it's traditional and non-traditional healing work through African practices, through grounding practices with the earth. And they have a whole series of events that they do and provide to community for sake of healing. But their work with the Black Worker Hub is to help ensure that we're well at work.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Thornburg Ruffin. My pronouns are she, her, and queen. So the Earth Lodge is a wellness center. The Earth Lodge Center for Transformation is a wellness center that bases all its practices on Black, Southern, Indigenous practices. So practices that come right out of nature and out of the earth. Our voices need to be heard. They so need to be heard. And I think it was somebody in one of the Echo Black Voices meetings that, and something that I say too when I talk about the work that we're doing, is these government agencies might not be perfect agencies. They might not be doing great work. But these are the agencies that determine who gets money and who gets services. And And our voices have to be heard. We have to be recorded. They have to listen. They have to hear us, right? And especially with the type of election cycle that we're moving into now, regardless of which way it goes, we know that there's something bigger at hand. It's like there's a wave that's coming that is seeking to maybe do things like erase me, silence my voice entirely.
My name is Patrice Miner. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My experience with the Earth Lodge really, it's just one of those things where some years you're seeking, you're asking for, certain things, and then some years you just get your answer all at once. And so I had been invited into a lot of POC-led spiritual spaces, and I just wanted a Black elder, and that's pretty much what Earth Lodge has been for me, is that experience where I've been able to come and have the practices from my culture centered, and so that was it. So I'm, quickly have been able to come into more of a supportive role, which has been a real blessing for me.
My name is Samuel Rice. As a Black worker and just having affiliates that's speaking on the same thing, but enough of us are talking about the same thing and adamant and really putting in the work behind the scenes and even on the front line. That's the Black worker power I think of when you mention that, but us as a whole. So, okay, if I'm in a position to help you and I'm a Black guy and I'm helping you and you're Black, that's part of the power we need, or the people who sit in a position of power and they're supposed to be there for the people. If they're Black and able to help us and they're helping us, that's a bit of power that I would think of.
Our worker centers and the SoCal hub, does work around pathways to family supportive careers. So we want to secure access in the various industries, the traditional ones and the newer ones. Ensure that we have pathways to the various industries that people want to be in. So for example, for Los Angeles Black Worker Center, who have been around, for a while, their campaign called it 1,000 Strong is to secure pathways to the public sector industry and make sure that in city jobs, county jobs, that Black workers are have a pathway to those jobs through that campaign. Have an amazing apprenticeship program that are preparing people for those opportunities. The same in Inland Empire. I don't know if you know, there's a new speed rail being built called the Bright Line from Inland Empire to Vegas. There is an approximate 5,000 jobs or so that will be needed to build that speedway and everything that will come along with that. And so the Inland Empire Black Worker Center is working hard to ensure that all of those areas of work and expertise are have a pathway for Black workers to have access to those opportunities. In San Diego, they do a lot of work in the healthcare industry around infant mortality, around working with the non-main health workers like nurses and doctors, but the tech workers who often don't get the same levels of attention, in-home healthcare workers, other doulas and non-traditional health workers in the healthcare industry. And protections, right, for Black workers. So you just asked a lot of questions about all of the discrimination and anti-Blackness and experiences that we're having. So what are we doing about it? It's securing that access. It's creating the pathways to secure that we to make sure that we're gaining that access in a way that is deeply preparing our folks for the opportunities.
What the Black Worker Center stands for, I like the mission, I like the the belief, I like everything about it. But I like the goals, I like what we're doing, and we putting people back to work. That's not all. We're building strength. We're building strength in the community with, it's a member-led organization. All the people here are wonderful. They have a passion just like I do. So then all the outside entities is wonderful as well.
I describe it as workers coming together around collective interests, fighting for equity, not asking for a handout, asking for fairness, not asking for anything at the expense of anyone else, just asking for an opportunity to feed their families, right? So what is the problem, right? Black worker power is identifying the problem and coming up with collective solutions, and that requires us doing research, coming together, speaking out to decision makers who hold power to be able to make those changes. So power is the ability to move things, right? It's the ability to get someone to do something in response to an ask. And what many of the Black workers I know are asking for is simply a fair shake, right? An opportunity to be able to have their basic needs met with quality employment.
It's comes a time where you gotta stand up, because y'all got kids. Y'all want y'all kids to go through what we went through. It's time to make a change. I think back like when Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, I can imagine what they went through. All the people that wasn't on board back in their day, but they kept pushing. And then when you have like supervisors from other departments coming telling you like, oh, you know why them guys not going down to the city hall with you? Because they have families. So my reply, I have a family. Dr. King, Malcolm had that family. They died for us. So you got to make it make sense when you're talking to me. You understand what I'm saying?
The building relationships so that I can trust you and you can trust me, because together we can challenge, confront, disrupt, and change the society.
The idea of moving the South, but I think it's in good hands. And I tell the people within Black Lives Matter, I'm a bridge between yesterday and today for them.